Okay, so, okay. Hi, Pierre. Welcome back. Tell us more about the difference between the health benefits between the red wine and the white wine, because many have asked about the amount of sulfites that's been put into the red wine and as well as the white wine, and many customers don't really understand what it's all about. So could you give us some insight on that?
Sure. Everybody must have heard those studies about the health benefit about drinking wine. Actually, this benefit comes from the red wine because the color red is given by some natural compounds which are antioxidants. Antioxidants will protect you from like heart disease and like blood pressure disease and all this kind of nasty stuff. You have to know that those antioxidants actually at this level don't exist in a white wine. So if you want to drink wine as a health preventive measure, red wine is the good wine for that. White wine doesn't have it. A second thing is because white wine doesn't have these antioxidants, it's also more fragile for protecting itself through the age, through the years. So producers will tend to put much more preservative, much more sulfite in the white wine than in the red wines.
Wow.
Because it's necessary. In the case of my wines, actually, some of the producers put a very little bit of sulfite to stabilize it, but I try to import most of my wines without any sulfite added. And I put it anyway in the description of the product. I will say if it's with or without sulfite, so everybody can know what they're drinking.
Oh, I see. So is sulfites bad?
Sulfite is good to protect the wine, but it's of course a chemical.
Oh,
and
okay.
as any chemical agent, the more you get, the nastier it becomes.
Oh.
Nobody really knows how bad it is, but it's better without than with.
So sulfites is not a chemical that is in place of salt. It is just a chemical that preserves the wine.
Yeah, it's made of sulfur. It's made for killing bacteria.
Oh, it's sulfur.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's made for killing bacteria, killing yeasts, and all these things. So, if it can kill bacteria, how can you say it doesn't kill anything inside you? You know, if you really drink
Yes.
a lot every day. Some people say also that the sulfites give this headache that you might have when you drink wine.
I see.
So drinking a wine without sulfite will protect you from this headache. Of course, if you get hangover because you drank too much, that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, you will tend to have more headache with white wine because they have a higher concentration in sulfites.
Now, what about yeast? How does one know that there's X number percentage of yeast in the wine? And is yeast good for our health?
Yeast is actually good. Yeast, I think, is part of these probiotic things that you have, you know, in those little bottles that you can drink every morning. You will have good bacteria, you can have yeast also. Those ferments, natural ferments, are good for health and for your balance, intestine balance. In the case of wines, with natural wines, the yeast are still more or less alive, which is obviously a good thing. In more conventional wines, because they use all the sulfites to kill the bacteria, they kill also the yeast. So the wine tends also to evolve in a different way. Because they kill all these microorganisms inside, it will be more flat with the years, it will not evolve so fast. With natural wines, it will tend to evolve in a very different way. So that's also a difference that you will have when you keep your wine for several years. They might evolve differently.
Now, let's argue with this fact that those are premium wines and versus house pour wines, you know, around the world. Are you saying that red wines that's premium, like Mouton Rouge, you know, they're priced like about £300 or more? You know, sometimes it can be as much as, say, $20,000 for a bottle of red wine. They have sulfites, but they're natural sulfites. Is that correct, or they are healthy? And how do we differentiate?
They definitely have sulfite. What I want to say is, if I'm promoting natural wine, I don't want to criticize too much the rest of the wines. For me, it's a matter of choice, of personal choice.
Okay.
A wine can be excellent, and of course those very famous wines are excellent. Generally, they are excellent for the people who know a lot about wine. They are not very good for the people who don't know anything about wine. If you are just a beginner in wine tasting, you will find those very expensive bottles not worth it. So it's all a matter of personal taste and personal values. Those wines became very expensive because they come from a very expensive and recognized terroir. So, you know, just in the end, the price of the land is so high that the price of the product has to be high also. And it's made by very renowned people, and in the end, it's a name. It's a famous name, it's a famous label, so there is a price behind it. There are obviously good wines, but it doesn't mean they are good wines for you.
Well, very good advice. And once again, everyone at the Natural Critics Choice Online News said Hyatt, thank you for watching. And until then, have a good week ahead.
Bye.
Thank you. That wasn't fun. Sometimes